Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, I'm a sugar pill. Shake a sugar shaker, you can too. Sugar pills will work for you. Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, you're a sugar pill. Shake a sugar shaker, you can too. Sugar pills will work for you. Hello everyone, I'm Barbara Baxter. Welcome to the Sugar Pill Show. Today we have a very interesting guest, Dr. Devinder S. Mangat. He is the past president of the American Board and the American Academy of Facial, Plastic, and Reconstructive Surgery. He was born in Kenya, and we're going to hear the heartwarming true story of his life. He's compassionate, kind, generous, he's a clinical innovator, and he has invented new surgical procedures. He runs marathons, he's a cyclist, he's a skier, he's a mountain climber, and he is 15 plus years voted Best Doctors of America, voted by his peers, so they would send their family members and loved ones to him. He is also, for many years, voted top doctors in Cincinnati. He has gone from Kenya to Belize by way of Texas, Kentucky, and Ohio. He is the surgery team leader of Horizon Church Belize Mission. Welcome, Dr. Mangat. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I think everyone would like to know about Kenya and your growing up years. What can you tell us about Kenya?
Well, my parents ended up in Kenya because they emigrated from India. And boy, was I glad they did, because I was born there, a most beautiful country. It was a British colony, and then it became independent in 1963. So all my instruction in schools was in English schools, in British schools. And I finished high school there, and then I came to this country.
And why did your parents emigrate to Kenya?
My father left after he had finished college, and he went to Kenya because it was a new frontier to basically have a better opportunity for employment and a career. And there were some migrations that were taking place from India to Kenya at the time, primarily to help build railroads from the coast up into the highlands. And so he went there and got a job with the railroad as an accountant, and then he raised his family there.
He was a pioneer.
He certainly was, yes.
Oh, and you, we talked previously, so I know that you have 5 siblings.
I have 5 siblings, 4 brothers and a sister, and I'm the youngest.
You're the baby.
Yes.
And what about your siblings? Now, did they stay in Kenya? Did they move?
My sister stayed in Kenya. She still lives there. But my brothers, one of them lives in Sweden, 2 in England, and 1 here in Cincinnati. And so we're all over the place.
All over the place.
Yes.
All over the
One
place.
actually is right here in Anderson.
Oh, marvelous. And I know that you chose not to go to college in Kenya. Can you tell us why and how you ended up going where you went?
Well, going to college in Kenya was difficult because there was only one university, and it was small, and it was very selective, and the places there were reserved primarily for African students for good reason. And so my choices were to go to England, as most of my siblings had gone, because that for my parents was affordable, but going to the States was not. And I didn't want to go to England because I had lived in colonial Kenya, and I thought I would want a different kind of experience. And I had decided that I wanted to get an education in the United States, but my parents really couldn't afford to send me here. So with the help of a librarian at the local American library, I found out about the American college system. And basically what I found out was that if you're willing to work, you can make it. And so I convinced my father to send me to the U.S. and support me for 1 year, and that I would take care of it after that. And I think that because he himself was a pioneer and had left India and gone to Kenya, he thought that that would be okay for me to leave Kenya and go 10,000 miles away to America. So that's exactly what I did.
And what was it that made you choose the United States over, say, going to Australia or France or Canada?
It was really my exposure to the U.S. I used to go to the United States Information Service Library. You know, just used to hang out there and read books and magazines and watch TV shows. And what I learned about Americans and life in America and opportunities in America was very appealing to me. And I felt that, you know, if I brought that other ingredient of, you know, determination and hard work, you know, I could be like all those people.
And we're glad you did.
And I'm glad I did too.
So you chose some colleges, or they offered scholarships, I believe?
Well, for the first year, I was really supported by my family. And so I didn't have a scholarship. And with the help of the individual I met at the USIS library, I applied to 7 different colleges in the U.S. Didn't tell my parents I was doing all of this. I took the SAT and the ACT, and then once I got accepted, I, you know, broke the news to them, and that's when my father fortunately made the decision that he did. And so some of the colleges were in the Midwest, and there were 3 in Texas. And coming from a tropical country, I picked Texas A&M because it was the farthest south. I knew it would be the warmest. But what I didn't know about Texas A&M was that at the time it was a 90% ROTC, almost like an Army school, and which was all right. It was fine, but it was just kind of a different kind of environment. So I stayed there for a year, and then I transferred to the University of Kentucky because I had some friends that were there in Lexington. And then I got scholarships and was able to get, able to work my way through school, and stayed there and got accepted into medical school at the University of Kentucky. And so the rest is history.
Wow. Now, these colleges that you didn't go to,
yes,
there was Texas, well, you went to Texas A&M.
I went to Texas A&M. I'd been accepted to SMU, Western Michigan, University of Minnesota, University of Michigan, and a couple of others that I don't remember.
Okay.
So long
Okay.
ago.
Interesting. Oh, right. And now you're a UK fan, I think?
I bleed blue, and this is a good time of the year for us.
That's right.
Yeah,
It bleeds
we're
blue.
undefeated
Now,
and going all the way.
right.
Yeah.
You chose medicine.
Yes.
Did you always want to do that?
My parents always wanted me to go into medicine. They had tried to get my other 5 siblings to go into medicine, and they all went into engineering and architecture. And so I was their last hope. And so they said, you must become a doctor. And you know how you are when you're young. I said, no, absolutely not.
Very typical.
I'm going to be a biochemist. And so I decided I was going to go into biochemistry until I found out what biochemistry was, and I thought,
What is it?
oh, it's awful.
It's awful.
It's not any fun.
Oh.
It's a lot of formulas and math and just crazy, memorization. And I said this was not for me, so I chose medicine.
Okay.
I think that something in
medicine.
the back of my mind told me that my parents were right, and that's what I should do.
And then, in addition to choosing medicine, which was the beginning, then
Yes.
you decided surgery, and then after that you decided reconstructive, facial reconstructive. How did those choices come about?
Well, in medical school, I liked everything. I liked every discipline. I liked OB, I liked pediatrics, I liked surgery. But during the 4th year, you spend some elective time where you choose what you want to pursue. And so I spent 3 months of an elective with a head and neck surgeon in Lexington. And he did a lot of reconstructive facial surgery. And spending that time with him made me realize that this is exactly what I would like, because I like the fine, meticulous type of surgery more so than the bigger surgery like orthopedic surgery or general surgery. And so he became a mentor, and he told me that I should pursue a career in that field. And so I did a residency in head and neck surgery at the University of Oklahoma, and that includes facial plastic surgery and reconstructive surgery. And after I finished my residency, I spent a year doing a fellowship, which is basically one-on-one type of a year-long education, and that was in Birmingham, Alabama, with Dr. Galen McCullough, who was a very famous facial plastic surgeon. So, and then once I finished my fellowship, I came back to this area.
I'm wondering, because of the artistry involved,
Yes.
are you an artist otherwise? I mean, do you draw or paint, or did you ever do that? Because
I really
the
am
way
not.
you use your hands,
Yes.
even when you speak, you know, it's
Yes.
it's a very artistic way.
Right. So people ask that all the time, and I think that when you do facial plastic surgery, you really have to think three-dimensionally. And so I think it helps to have a background in art. I think that's being creative, and much of what we do is creative. But I don't think it's a prerequisite for it. So now, if I would have done anything, sculpture would have been it, because you're really working in three dimensions.
I understand.
And but having observed surgery, and my motivation was really the anatomical detail of the face and neck area, how intricate it was, and how interesting it was, and how whatever you do has an effect on the facial appearance or facial expression, good or bad, and that's what was really intriguing to me. And but as I got into the field, I realized that I really like working with my hands, and that the finer and more detailed the work, the more I liked it. And then during my residency and during my fellowship, that was just reinforced by some of my mentors and role models. And they encouraged me to pursue that career because they could see that I had some acumen for it.
Yes, yes. Well, when you talk about this, I can see in your face an excitement. You probably wake up every morning very excited about what you're going to do.
I really do love what I do. And more than anything else, I think I enjoy working with people. I enjoy helping people, no matter what the procedure may be, because there is that finality once you're finished, whether it was reconstructive or aesthetic in nature. You see the result, and you see the response of the person that you're doing it on, and when you see that positiveness and you see the satisfaction in their hearts and in their face, it's so gratifying. And
Yes.
People ask me all the time, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do? And I tell them I'd be a race car driver. No, I do exactly what I'm doing now.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure that Dr. Mangat has a lot of stress in his work, even though he's saying to us, that he loves what he's doing, and every morning he's getting up and enjoying what he's going to do. How do you deal with the stress of your work?
Well, a long time ago, when I was doing my residency, I got some very good advice from one of my chief residents. And he took me aside and he says, spend the next 3 or 4 years learning everything that you can and become as knowledgeable as you can about what you're doing. And he says, you won't become an alcoholic. I thought, I don't think I have any plans to be an alcoholic, but what he was trying to say was that if you learn everything and if you work hard and you become good at what you're doing, you're not going to be unhappy down the road.
Okay.
And you won't take to alcohol.
Anyway, okay.
And so that's exactly what I did. I really focused, and I decided, okay, that was my time to learn. Although I was to realize later that you're a student for life in this business. You know, you never stop learning. And you learn from everyone. You learn from your nurses, you learn from your residents, and you learn from going to meetings and from books and all of that. So, and that's kind of stimulating, you know, and it's fun to learn. And so when you learn what you're supposed to learn in the field that you're practicing, and you become good at it, stress really goes by the wayside, you know, because
Okay.
I think you acquire a certain amount of confidence and a certain amount of ability. And then as you sort of increase your experience, that further helps to not have to deal with stress.
Well, that's good. And I want to ask you too, and I know people watching want to know, you ski, you climb mountains, you're a cyclist. How do you have time to do all of those things and do everything you're doing?
I sleep about 6 hours a night.
Okay.
Well, you know, I've always enjoyed the outdoors. I grew up in Kenya, which is a tropical country, and other than going to school, we were always outside, you know, whether it was playing soccer or hockey or cricket or running or, you know, whatever. And so the outdoors are really in my blood. And I can't sit around and watch TV unless it's the Barbara Baxter show. And
You heard that, folks.
and so, and I found out early on that in order to do all the things that I do, work-wise primarily, you really have to have a certain amount of energy. And how you can get energy is by expending energy. When you're active, you really become more energetic.
Yes.
And so, you know, it allows you
Yes.
to be more productive.
Well, it sounds like something from the Sugar Pills book.
There you go.
Now, let's talk about the mission to Belize. You are the team leader, and
Yes.
doctors and nurses and other people go to Belize. There's so much to learn about this, so I'm just going to let you go with it and tell us how did you pick Belize and what goes on there and what have you achieved?
Well, you know, when people would ask me, you know, what am I going to do when I stop doing what I do every day, when I retire? And I would say, you know, I always want to go to different countries and make my services available and do mission type work. But I was fortunate in that about 9 years ago, I was given the opportunity to go to Belize with the then second mission trip that Horizon Church had ever organized. And I just decided I would check it out and see what it was like. And so that first year there were 3 surgeons, and we did about 30 or 35 cases.
In what period of time?
Over 3 days. Yeah.
Oh,
And I found that was extremely gratifying. It was a great experience because not only did you end up helping people, but it helped you. I mean, I almost got as much out of it as the people that I was helping because it made me realize things about myself. And, you know, it made me realize that, you know, I've been fortunate. I've been given a gift. And to not put that gift to good use for people in need would really be a waste.
good for you.
And so I went the second year, and by the third year, I guess somebody decided that they thought I was enthusiastic and I was doing a good enough job that they asked me. I sort of by de facto became the surgical team leader. At that time, we used to have 3 teams. There was a construction team that would build houses and put screens on windows. There was a medical team that would go to the villages and treat all kinds of medical problems, and a surgical team. And so it became a much more organized mission trip. And I started recruiting surgeons and nurses and anesthesiologists to go with us. And we went from a team of 6 or 8 to a team of almost 24 individuals that are on the surgical team. And so now we have anywhere from 3 to 5 surgeons. We have about 10 nurses. We have 5 to 7 anesthesiologists and other surgical assistants and other personnel that help us put this whole thing together.
What kind of surgeries do you do for these? And who are the people that you treat?
So we go to Belize. Belize is a small country. It's only about 450,000 people. And it used to be called British Honduras. It was a British colony, and then it became independent. It's called Belize. And there's not a single plastic surgeon in the whole country. And so we do exclusively reconstructive surgery. We do a combination of cleft lip repairs, cleft palate repairs, other congenital deformities, burns, scars, tumors, all kinds of problems in children primarily, but also in adults. And so having done it long enough, and we go to the same place, the same town, and the same hospital, the people there have come to know that we're going to be there now twice a year. We go in October and then again in February. And then there are 2 other teams, one from Texas and one from Virginia, that also go to the same place.
At the same time?
No, at different times of the year, yes. And so people will travel from as much as 100 miles away, and sometimes by bicycle and bus, and to come and be evaluated. So what we do is we fly there on Thursday. We have a screening day on Friday, when we may see up to 350 people who are eligible for all kinds of surgical solutions. And then we select the ones that we can reasonably do in a 4-day period with, say, 3, 4, or 5 surgeons. And so we operate on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So 4 days. And the hospital where we go to, it's called Orange Walk Hospital. They make the entire surgical facility available to us for those 4 days. But we bring all our personnel, we bring all our supplies, instruments, everything we need, medications, and the whole works. And so, for example, this year there were 3 of us, 3 surgeons, and we did, in 4 days, we did 73 cases. And, it's sort of your adrenaline is really flowing, and you're trying to be as productive as you can, because there are all these people that want to be helped, and we don't always get to do everyone. Sometimes you have to turn them away and say, all right, we'll do you the next time we come back. And so it's a tiring, exhausting 4 days, but it's at the same time extremely rewarding. Yeah.
You are really a dedicated individual, and when I think about how Dr. Mangat really helps people in this way, I'm so impressed. I really am.
Oh,
you exude kindness and compassion. You really do.
You're kind. You're kind to say that.
I'm wondering, when you go back, do you see some of the same patients that you had performed surgery on, and see a difference in their personalities maybe because they've had the surgeries?
Yeah, I should preface that by saying that one of the things that's most gratifying, why it becomes so easy to do this, is the people there are so nice. They're so friendly. They're so grateful. And anything that you can do for them, they just, they do anything. And so many of the patients require more than one operation. Some of these are staged procedures. So you may do one stage, one time you're there. If we're doing like an ear reconstruction, we harvest the rib cartilage and we make the ear and we bury it, and then we come back, 3 or 4 months later and we do the second stage. So you end up seeing some of the same patients out of necessity, but they're definitely patients that we've done before. I remember the first cleft lip I did in Belize, he was 6 months old, and he's now 7 years old. And he comes back every year with his parents. His parents bring him. So you get to see him, growing up right before your eyes.
Yes.
And so yes, you do see them, partly because they need other things done, but partly because they just want to come back and see you.
Now, I did get a chance to talk to Dr. Mangat ahead of time, as you know, and I understand that you also took baseball hats and sunglasses.
We take all kinds of stuff for kids, I mean,
Okay.
there's 73 people on the entire trip this year. And these are just, most of them Horizon Church members and many of them non-members. But they all have just huge hearts. And so we take suitcases that are filled with clothes, and they take toys and hats and baseballs and soccer balls and you name it, and come back with empty suitcases. And so, we take all of those things and take soccer jerseys and things that they need that they don't have.
Yes.
Mostly for children. Yeah.
It's just been so wonderful talking with Dr. Mangat, and to show appreciation for you doing this, I'd like to give you a copy of the Sugar Pills
Sugar
book.
Pills book. Wonderful.
And also, I wonder if you have anything that you would like to say as a parting comment for our viewers, something that might inspire them to go beyond what they're doing and help others.
Well, I would just say that we all have certain talents. Everyone is blessed with something that they like to do, some way that they can make another person feel better. And so, when I talk about this, street people say, I've always wanted to go on a mission trip. Well, there's absolutely no reason you cannot. Right now, in the U.S., the fastest growing segment of the tourism industry is medical mission tourism. There's so many mission trips all over the world, all over this country. And so, just when you think that you don't think you can make a difference, you can, because there's something in your heart that will allow you to do some good. And that's the only advice I'd give.
Well, I know someone who has definitely made a difference, and that's Dr. Devinder Mangat, and we thank you so very much for being here. I appreciate that you have
Thank you.
come
It's a pleasure to
and
be
given
here.
us your time out of your very, very busy day. And let's think about what was just said. There are how many hundreds, perhaps, of mission trips that are
Thousands.
medical, thousands of medical mission trips. So if you're interested in doing anything that involves a medical mission trip, I wish you the best. I encourage you to do it. Dr. Mangat encourages you to do it. And I think you'll be sugar pills for doing it, because we are all about ways to feel our best. Helping others is definitely the best way to feel our best. Thank you all for watching. I'm Barbara Baxter, and this has been Sugar Pills.
Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, I'm a sugar pill. Shake a sugar shaker, you can too. Sugar pills will work for you. Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, you're a sugar pill.